Don't be such a skibbity. My daughter Dahlia has been teaching me all about this, and she found it very funny. But also she said I was a bit sus.
During the Wicked press junket, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were asked by Tracy E. Gilchrist, who is a journalist, about holding space.
A couple of years ago, there was a study that said a lot of new language comes from teenage girls in specific.
Well,
so Gen Z women mostly come up with new words.
Doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me at all because they're very they speak a lot. There's always stuff happening in a young woman's world, and they like to communicate. So words are going to come out from that.
Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about some Arab and Emirati traditions which are being considered for a UNESCO list.
Words being made popular by Gen Z culture.
And the ancient minted coins going to auction.
This is Culture Bites coming to you from the National News. I'm Enas Refaei.
I'm Farah Andrews.
And I'm Maan Jalal. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. So guys, our last week in this setup.
Yes, we're moving offices.
Monumental.
Huge. New phase.
It's huge for us.
New studio vibes.
I know. I can imagine everybody who's listening to this on Spotify is just like,
boring.
Yeah. Move on.
But anyone watching on YouTube, well, you're in for a visual treat next week.
Don't build it up.
I know.
I've
It's going to be
seen
day
the
2.
studio space.
It's going to be...
Yeah, I've seen the studio space. Let's just all quiet down.
Hey, look, as long as they have something of us in the background.
Yes, inshallah.
Like, as long as I'm there.
Yeah, as long as we're there, as long as I'm there. It's
Inshallah.
Good. Inshallah, yeah.
I've got some news. I got recognised
Oh.
by one of our fans. I was in the pub having just like a sit down, and somebody came up to me and was like, I love your show, which made me feel really happy.
You said male.
Male, yes, white male.
Well.
Wow. Interesting.
Why is that interesting?
I thought Eddie was our one white male. And Eddie's dad.
Eddie's dad.
Not my dad.
Listening to us and then recognizing it's another level.
It's another level.
Yeah, because not everyone sees our faces.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just hear our words.
And I think the hair helps.
Yes, recognizable.
All right. I use it to pick you out of a crowd.
That's what my daughter says. She's like, Mama, I can always see you.
Yeah, It was very handy at Mariah. Where is she?
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about this UNESCO list of intangible cultural heritage.
Over to you, man. You've been writing about it today.
Yes, I have. So right now in Paraguay, UNESCO are discussing, so basically all these countries from around the world submit a pitch of their intangible cultural heritage, elements of their culture. So basically it could be something like, weaving or traditional dances, or so it's not like buildings, it's things that are intangible that could be forgotten or lost over time.
And that's kind of why we're hoping to preserve them, right?
Of course.
So it's the practices that are often very historic and ancient practices that are still so important to life today, but just that kind of front of UNESCO is trying to work to keep these practices like front of mind and like acknowledge how important they are to culture.
Yes,
Can you give us
preserve them?
Can you give us an example of like something that has been preserved from this region?
So, for example, I know that the henna this year has been is part of the list, and the UAE, along with a few other countries like Oman and Jordan, all came together and decided to pitch henna, the art of henna, as something that should be part of this intangible cultural heritage list. So to preserve it, to recognize it, to understand that it is also an art form, and it's something that has been part of the culture and that has evolved over culture and has been around for a long time. So it's different practices that serve different purposes within each culture. And the region, I mean, even for Arabs who live here or live abroad, they might not know some of these as, important, heritage, practices. So one thing that I don't know if many Arabs know about this is that Nabulsi soap making from Palestine, which is a practice that's been going on for more than 1,000 years. Wow. It's handmade soap made from olive oil, water, and lye. Is that how you pronounce it? I didn't even know what lye was. And it has like a very specific, distinct smell.
Smells like my grandma's house.
Oh, okay.
When I smell that, I remember my grandma.
Your grandmother from your father's side.
Yeah,
your
from my
grandma.
Is it
Yeah, my Arab grandma.
similar to Syrian and Damascus soap as
Yes,
well?
in Aleppo they make.
Well,
like a
funnily enough, that
hello.
has been added. I wrote about it today.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
ahead of the curve.
What a segment. Segue.
Yeah.
But also a segment.
Also a segment.
Here we are.
So yeah, soap, handmade soap from Aleppo was Syria was added in the list, and this soap is
This year.
this year. Yep, I wrote about it today. It was announced, I think, yesterday, and it uses also olive oil, and they make it in this really interesting way. They get all the ingredients. It's very hot, and then they pour it on the floor, flatten it out, and then they use these shoes that are like clogs made of wood and their body weight to then cut the soap into these cubes, and then put it up in like a little pyramid.
We did a really interesting story on exactly that
This?
soap making practice a few years ago. And it was like very, very visual and really interesting images from inside one of the soap factories in Damascus.
I'm going to buy some.
Yeah.
That's going to be my thing. I mean, this is very off topic, but I'm very much into natural skincare products. So that's on my list for Christmas.
Interesting. Another great segue that was added to the list are the Taif roses from Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
So it's this practice in Saudi Arabia where in March, this is the harvest season, when families and businesses go and they harvest these flowers, these roses, very early in the morning, and they sell them in local markets, but a huge portion of them are then distilled and they're turned into scents, and they're used for scents in mosques, for scents in your home, and even scents that they use on carpets and rugs to make them smell good that are also in the mosque. So that is something I had no idea about, and I had no idea that these roses are very specific to this region, the Taif region in Saudi Arabia, in the Mecca province, I think it is. So that's something that's been added to the culture, UNESCO Cultural Heritage List.
And it's so interesting that this is helping us all learn more as well. Like it's not just like a UNESCO thing, right? It's opening up our eyes as well.
And obviously, so Arabic coffee was on the list of submissions. Has that been confirmed yet, or is that still pending?
No, it's still pending. So it's until the 7th of December is when we'll know for sure. But Arabic coffee, which has a super long and influential history.
How is that not on there already?
You would have thought, right?
Yeah.
And it's a joint submission from UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, and Jordan. So it's the kind of a lot of countries in the region that have kind of come together to speak about the kind of flavors and the social practices surrounding coffee as a symbol of generosity.
And for those who don't know, coffee is an Arabic word, and it is from here.
Yeah.
Right? Qahwa.
Qahwa, yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Two other things I wanted to mention that have been added to the list, which again I had no idea about.
They have been added.
They have been added. They're officially added now. So the performing arts among the Tawa'if of the Robonton tribe from Tunisia. So they are basically a group of singers or performers called Tawa'if. They're artists and they're performers, and they sing and perform either secular or more religious chants and songs, and they sing them in like special like cultural festivities and festivals, or I guess for weddings and things. And they're usually men, all dressed in white, and they wear like a red kind of like cap, and it's usually like they also have a drum. And apparently this has been going on for like since the 17th century.
Wow.
Yeah, and so really interesting that they've been added. I didn't even know that they existed, so it was really interesting looking them up.
See, look at us learning.
So you mentioned henna earlier. Has henna been added officially, or is that just
henna has
still
been added
pending?
officially?
So that's been put forward by 16 countries, including the UAE.
Yes.
So that's massive, and obviously we've just had National Day, which is now Eid al-Adha.
Yes.
But around Eid here in the UAE, it is so popular and common practice for people to go and get big, beautiful, intricate henna designs, and also for all kind of like happy celebrations and festivals, right? So weddings and like the kind of such stunning, intricate patterns that mainly women.
Yeah. It's
Mainly
interesting
women,
because do you have henna in Iraq?
Yeah, and in Yemen where my father's from. So every Eid, all my sisters and my aunts would get
And would
henna.
they do like the patterns?
Yeah. And each
like,
pattern is different
It's kind of interesting, right? So I'm Jordanian, and like the old tradition in Jordan is that you just hold it.
Yes, so there's different ones. So I think
Yeah. So just like you could just get like red palms, like just like a
Yeah.
splodge. And like, that's just the traditional practice. And my dad said that when he was little, like, you know, it's for boys and girls. Like they would just like put a splodge of henna on your hand, you got to hold it. But
I believe that's something to do with Islamic culture. And I think, I could be wrong about this, but like at the beginning of Islam, a lot of people would do that. They would hold henna in their hands, and it was, yeah.
I mean, now and now I get like patterns and things. But when I was younger, I just thought that was like what you did. And I'm learning.
When I was younger living here, we would go and get it at Eid and like have really, I loved getting beautiful intricate patterns. It was also like if we went and got like a temporary tattoo or something, we were never ever allowed to have them at school, but they had to be scrubbed off. But henna was never a problem. So I was always so keen. I would be like, henna me from fingertip to the top of my arms.
You wouldn't get like a Chinese dragon or something?
No.
In your youth?
Pretending to be Sporty Spice, probably. I'd be like, I would like anything here. No.
But you know, my great aunt from my father's side, so she was from Yemen. She always just had henna on the tips of her fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it, like always, all the time. So it wasn't even a celebratory thing. It was just part of, I don't know, their
the
life.
Like her kind of cosmetic routine.
Yes.
The way.
Aesthetic, the vibe.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. I love those kind of like really bold, like old school patterns. I had a great aunt who had tattoos on her chin in Jordan. And she was Bedouin, and she also had like the tattoos on her hands of like dots and things.
But again, that shows you the nuance of henna, right? Like it's so widespread, it's so different. One more I want to mention, it's the women's ceremonial costume in the eastern region of Algeria, known as Ghandora and Melhafa. So they are two outfits.
Isn't that borderline tangible? Oh no, it's not really tangible.
It's the practice. It's the practice and the knowledge of how and skills of how to make these two outfits that women wear in important cultural festivities or in weddings or ceremonies. So it's the adornments, it's how you sew them, it's how you put them together. It's that knowledge as opposed to actual dress, which I think is so interesting, right? So it's the skill of creating this fashion. We also have henna. We also have dance and performing. So it's a really wide range of things.
I think it is such a important list that's kind of produced every year and Maan, like overseen by UNESCO. I love reading about all these different practices. this is nerdy and industry, but they send out such comprehensive press releases with so many images. I spent like a good amount of time on Friday just looking at the images attached and I was like, this is more generous than like basically any other PR.
So can we get all of those images on our website?
Yes, I have images for each of these things. Specifically, I want people to focus on the last one that I mentioned, the Algerian dresses. They are so intricate, and they even have like a headdress. So you can really see like, oh, okay, now I get why this dress, the skill behind creating this dress needs to be, preserved. Exactly.
Beautiful.
Shall we go from intangible cultural heritage to intangible Gen Z heritage?
Yes.
Don't be such a skibbity. So my daughter Dahlia has been teaching me all about this.
Is Dahlia Gen Z or Gen Alpha?
She's definitely Gen Alpha. She's probably younger than Gen Alpha.
No, Gen Alpha's like being born right now.
Oh, really? Okay. So she's
a Gen Alpha, probably.
9 on Monday.
Happy birthday, Dahlia.
Happy birthday, Dee. So she's been teaching me all about this. We sat in a cafe and she got out her pen and paper and started teaching me what I needed to know.
Mother has been schooled.
Mother has been mothered.
Mothered. And she found it very funny. But also she said I was a bit sus. So
we are all giving.
Yes.
Deeply middle-aged right now.
Yeah.
Chuggy, is that the word for middle age? Isn't that chuggy? I heard
we
that.
Are chuggy.
So
Chug.
these are all the vocabulary and languages that are being used by the younger generation, Gen Z. So if you're a parent, you've probably heard all of these phrases and you're probably well up to date. However, some people aren't parents. Some people aren't that in touch with the younger generation.
There is one turn of phrase that has really captured the zeitgeist in the last few weeks, and that is care of our wicked girlies.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Cynthia and Ariana. Well, actually, care of a journalist. Really.
It was, yeah.
Our people.
Yeah. Well, here we are. Setting the conversation. So during the Wicked press junket, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were asked by Tracy E. Gilchrist, who is a journalist, about holding space. And it was that we've all seen the clip where Ariana is holding Cynthia's
finger.
nail.
I apologize. Nail.
Hand, finger, nail. Holding her nail.
She has got quite incredible nails.
Her nails are incredible. They are a whole other conversation. But yeah, so holding space.
So what she said was...
What does that mean?
Yes, what does it mean? So what she said was, a lot of people on Twitter have been holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity. And that in itself, you're like, oh, what does that mean? But then Cynthia's reaction was like, really, I haven't heard about this. And I was like, heard about what? What are you talking about? And then she was like, I was hoping for this. So the journalist has come out and talked more about the interview and how viral it's been. But basically what she was saying, that holding space means being completely present at the moment, physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. To me, it basically means that you're concentrating and like you're resonating with what's happening or with the moment.
I have more questions. Right. Question number 2. Cynthia, when you said her response, where she was like, oh, I didn't know that was happening.
Yeah.
I read that. I thought she was kind of bluffing, or did you think she was really engaged?
I don't know how to read her, so it could be either of these things. It could be just, maybe she was just going with the moment. Maybe she was like, I don't know what this means, but I want to know what it means. I want to be part of this movement. She
obviously is very polite, and she has been so engaged in all of her junket interviews. And then my next question, we say this is Gen Z slang. Are we super sure this is Gen Z slang because the journalist was maybe not Gen Z?
She was not Gen Z, but I'm assuming that maybe she didn't invent the phrase, but she brought it into the mainstream through the interview.
Yeah.
So maybe this phrase was being used a lot by Gen Z online, and maybe she picked up on it, and then
here we all are holding space.
Holding space for holding space while defying gravity.
Consider the space held.
Yeah.
So basically, we haven't looked at our phone and we're concentrating.
But then ironically, probably on our phone while looking at...
Or it's me telling you, listen, I have something to tell you. I need you to hold space for this moment right now.
Ooh.
We
I
won the
might
signal.
start asking you to hold space every day at 10 a.m. while I'm talking.
Yes, for 10 a.m. Guys, please, can you all just hold space for the 10 a.m. meeting?
So maybe it's because we've become also distracted that there needs to be a term and a phrase for it.
As opposed to when we were kids, concentrate. So we can't do that anymore. So suppose now it's hold space.
Hold space.
I need you to hold space for the moment.
So a few months ago, you wrote like a Gen Z dictionary for us.
Yes.
And it was something that I found deeply useful. But I have also heard feedback from Gen Z colleagues that it gave them, and I quote, the ick.
Yeah.
Because
they were like, one word in there was not.
It was like reading something old people write, and it made me sad. Because I was like, I need this.
I get...
Am I old? I thought I was youth.
It also did really, really well.
It did.
It did well.
Because people like us need it.
But you know what? I'm really against this ageist thing. Like, I think being older or middle-aged, as we were speaking about before, is much cooler than being young. So I'm really sick of this like young youth-centric thing. And actually, just because Gen Z have made up these words, language is an organic living orgasm. It spreads.
What a great soapbox you got over there, Braps.
I love it.
In my day. Literally.
I do think that we can all learn from each other. Like, I love listening to people older than me, younger than me.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
But you know,
We're all
I
in
will
it
say
together.
something that's really interesting. A couple of years ago, there was a study that said a lot of new language comes from teenage girls in specific.
Well,
so Gen Z women mostly come up with new words.
Doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me at all because they're very like, they speak a lot. There's always stuff happening in a young woman's world, and they like to communicate. So words are going to come out from that.
See, Dahlia, he's talking about you.
Last year, every dictionary has a word of the year, right? I can't remember which one it was last year, but their word of the year was Riz. And
last year.
Now I do feel like I hear people that aren't just like young saying Riz.
But I take umbrage with with words that don't exist, that get made up. Like this year's word of the year is one of these words, demure.
Love it. Which
is a great word.
We have to say it's like there's so many different words of the year. So it's just one of the dictionaries.
Yes, one of the dictionaries was demure.
Sorry. I've got a question. So demure, like what was it made up?
No. So this is sorry.
It's a word, like usually the words of the year kind of capture the year. For me, So she has not been that demure.
Oh, sorry.
It's been quite, I mean, she says sitting here in a leopard print skirt. Of course it's not.
So what demure, I know what demure is because I've seen the memes.
You've seen the memes. It's like so subtle, so demure. So
Yes.
I wish that was me. But anyway, so the other words. What
this
are the
new
other words?
wardrobe that you've been talking me through, they're quite demure, actually.
It's giving demure. Some of the other words. What are some of the other words?
So we've done Riz. One of my favorites, brat.
Brat was very this year.
It was the
that
summer.
that went beyond Gen Z and became like Kamala Harris's campaign vibe, right? Brat. So
Didn't work though.
didn't work, but it made the word more universal, right? More
Yes.
global.
Mid, we've heard a lot about mid this year. If something's mediocre, average, not that exciting.
I love Delulu. I think it's a great word.
What does Delulu mean? I don't know this one.
It means like delusional.
Ah.
And I believe it comes from K-pop fans who are delusional in believing in the, the relationship they have with K-pop singers.
I mean, hey. If we're going to say
How's Taylor?
girls are, I've been Delulu since like the age of genuinely
I've been
5.
delulaling.
When I was so sure that I was going to be in Take That, not even just no Take That. Teenage girls have been Delulu for boy bands forever.
Yeah.
It's something I think we should all be quite proud of. I'm going to say something that I'm not going to be able to say with my accent because I'm just going to sound so ridiculous, but I'm going to say it anyway. Bussin'.
Bussin'.
So this was the word that some of our colleagues were like, don't ever use that word. It is not cool anymore. So I've been schooled about bussin' being a sus word to be on this list. But I refuse, and I keep using bussin' just when I see these colleagues that find it embarrassing. So
What does it mean?
So it means something that's extremely good or delicious or like really cool, like, yo, that's bussin'.
So I feel like a lot of these words, I mean, that just sounds like South London to me.
It's like, yeah, right?
It must have come from South London. I refuse to believe it's come from anywhere other than South London.
I mean, when I first heard it, I'm like, yeah, it's somebody who cares about spending money so they catch the bus. They're bussin'. That's what I thought it was. And then
How did you go? Man, how did you go from catching the bus to something cool?
I would have thought it was like an insult for someone
And then-
that doesn't use
I don't
taxis.
know.
Or
And
like,
then
oh, you
saving,
bussin'.
saving money's cool, no? I don't know, being frugal
Saving money is cool. Just the last one I think we should do is Oxford Word of the Year for 2024 isn't actually a word, it's 2 words. Brain rot.
Brain rot. Great word.
Brain rot.
Wonderful
Yeah,
word.
it's a really good
A decline
way
of
expressing
intellectual state as a result of over-consuming trivial content, which is why, as we all know, I've deleted Instagram. I can't hack it.
Which
I'm
is
done.
why, as you all know, I block the Kardashians.
Whoa. Oh, I just feel like
Right,
I'm
let's
like
take
sat
a-
here in my brain rot. I've got nothing to say back.
We need to take a break
We need to take a break.
before we get further brain rot.
Bussin'.
And now we'll leave our little Gen Z friends behind,
Bye.
leave the brain
present
rot,
and go to the history.
and let's go to numismatics. Do we know what numismatics are?
A Harry Potter spell.
No.
Wait, let me guess. I feel like it's something to do with engineering.
Oh, no. Coinage.
Coinage.
So it is the practice of collecting coins. And this month, there is going to be a very significant coin auction in Geneva when there are thousands of coins going up for auction, but there are 2 in particular that are particularly exciting. So there's one from the ancient Romans,
Nice.
and there's the hope that that coin is going to maybe break world records
Wow.
in the coin selling world. And then there's a second coin, which is super interesting, from Medina. And so they're both 2 coins with very, very, very interesting stories. So the coin that comes from the ancient Roman realm, basically is a Brutus coin. And the coin kind of encapsulates the betrayal of Caesar, Julius Caesar, of all the Caesars.
I know the Caesar. Yeah, I know him.
Not.
I also had a neighbour in England called Caesar.
Oh, that is.
Sasa, if he's listening.
If he's listening, I hope you're well. So this coin, it was minted for about a year, and it has its emblazoned with Brutus imp. And the significance of this is that it kind of proves that he saw himself as an emperor. And it kind of really encapsulates the betrayal of Caesar and that whole story and history. And it's kind of summed up in one golden coin.
If you guys don't know the story of Brutus and Caesar,
School us on Brutus.
Please
so
tell me.
dramatic. It's wonderful. If you've ever seen the show Rome by HBO, you guys ever seen that show?
Oh.
It's brilliant, and it's in there. And if you did, English high school, the Caesar play, Caesar's last words when he was killed was "Even you, Brutus," because Brutus is the one who.
Et tu Brute in the Shakespeare play.
Yes.
Can we just have like a look? I don't mean to be like a Philistine here.
No.
What is the main dramatic? So he was a big emperor leader. No.
So
He's a
Caesar
politician.
was, and he was betrayed by Brutus, who was like a son to him, who did a coup to get rid of him and, stabbed him.
And he stabbed him. And that's obviously been dramatized since that moment.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Through
Many
lots of
times.
different- Yeah.
Once by Shakespeare.
Once by Shakespeare. So it's kind of like there was like reenactments, like old school reenactments of this thing have since happened.
It's like if somebody betrays you, you're Brutus. It's the ultimate betrayal. It's the ultimate brutal betrayal by Brutus.
So, yeah. And now it's entered into this like other realm, but there's a coin from that day.
Yeah,
Not
basically.
from this time.
Yeah, basically
Yeah.
it shows that
Wow.
Brutus his ambitions to be.
So, and the kind of this escalation of events all took place in a very short period of about 2 years.
Wow.
And so that's what is part of what makes this coin so valuable, because they're really, it was a period of 2 years with these coins being used and circulated. And so now there is one of them still
Around.
probably more than one, but this is a very, very, very significant acquisition. And the coin has a starting price at auction of more like about $850,000, but it's
Wow.
expected to break world records.
Wow. That is a lot. I wonder how much that coin was worth when it was first.
the
Yeah, the
time.
kind of actual kind of currency.
Was it like a 10p?
Yeah.
Was it like a dirham?
It was minted in 43 BC.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then
a
the
story.
second coin, the Medina dinar, is a testament to the Umayyads' remarkable military power. It's at the time when they were the biggest in the empire, more powerful than the Romans, actually. And it's a gold dinar, and it features an inscription that reads, Ma'dan Amir al-Mu'minin, or mine of the commander of the faithful. So I guess it's a very cool way to, not only is it symbolic, obviously, of an amount of money at the time, but also symbolic of the time itself, who was ruling, how powerful they are, and the kind of, and I think that's what's really interesting about, what did you call coin collecting?
Numismatics?
Numismaticking, or matics, or matica, is that it's really about history as well, of who was in power,
Yeah.
because money is not only about currency, but it's also about who is in power and the stories around it.
And also where power lies,
Yes.
right? Because the empire was kind of running out of Damascus at the time, but this coin is seen as like a real nod to Medina and the significance of Medina and the Islamic significance of Medina.
And also, I think it's really interesting what you have on the coin, because if you're having, like they had this phrase here, it shows you what that culture favored at the time. But if you have someone's face on their profile, someone's face, it means that, we really look up at one person as opposed to a concept or idea. So I think that is also really fascinating. I know that when Cleopatra had her face on coins, they made her look more masculine than she was. They made her nose bigger, her jaw bigger, because they believed that more masculine features on a woman made her more reliable as a ruler, as opposed to somebody who was beautiful. So everything...
The patriarchy playing out in
throughout
coin
history.
collecting.
That patriarchy.
No, I love that.
So
Quite
this coin
fascinating.
dates back to 710 Common Era. So then, and it has still got an extremely significant starting price. It's set at about $226,000. So these are coins that are expected to bring in some coin.
Yeah.
Good one.
Thanks.
Should we go over to recommendations now?
Yes.
Oh, I recommend selling coins.
Yeah, collect them now.
I wanted to actually recommend going to the Louvre.
Oh,
Because I saw Cleopatra's head there.
Oh, speaking of Cleo.
Yeah, so speaking
girl
of Cleo, our gal.
My girl Cleo.
So, and I remember thinking like, oh, that's a handsome woman. But now maybe I'm thinking...
What a lovely masculine looking lady.
Yes.
I trust her.
I trust her massively. But now I'm thinking that's probably why,
Yeah.
was that she probably had her features masculinized.
Yes,
Is that
a lot of the time.
Emasculated? Because you can be emasculated.
Yes,
So
she
maybe
was
emasculated.
emasculated. The opposite of
So she was-
emasculation.
So she was emasculated. Really beautiful marble carving of her head is in the Louvre in Abu Dhabi. And I went there because National Day, it's free entry.
So you took advantage of that wonderful deal.
I took advantage of the wonderful deal, took the whole family down there. So if you haven't been and you're thinking about going, you're looking at ticket prices, like think of it next year for National Day. Eid al-Ittihad.
Union Day.
Union Day.
The day of
Union
union.
Day. Yeah. So really enjoyed it. Lots and lots of fun. Beautiful building. I never get over that building.
No, it's so
Stunning.
striking. My recommendation doesn't match yours in terms of the highbrow, but I think it is important for us to balance the high and the low. And Lohan, because my recommendation this week is obviously Lindsay Lohan's new Christmas film. I watched it last night. It is called Our Little Secret. Goodness gracious me. What a masterpiece.
I have to watch it.
You simply must. There might be a point where you pause it, you think to yourself, should I carry on? Which is what I did. It's the scene in the church. That's all I'll say. And my advice is, carry on. It's 2 hours of your life you aren't going to get back, but also 2 hours of your life that you will cherish forever. Lindsay Lohan stars in it. Elevator pitch. She had a boyfriend as a teenager. And then it fast forward, 2024, and she's with her new boyfriend. She's going to meet his family. And then, who's there?
The old boyfriend.
His boyfriend. And they decide not to tell anyone that they used to be together.
Yeah.
That was
Great.
hijinks doth ensue.
Shakespearean.
So obviously I loved it, yeah.
So my recommendation is actually a combination of the highbrow and the lowbrow.
Mid-brow.
Midbrow.
Don't be mid, we've already discussed that.
Yeah. Well, it depends who you ask about this. I recommend that you guys watch a classic movie time of year. And the classic movie that I recently watched, that I watched a lot, is Gone with the Wind. Have you guys seen Gone with the Wind?
I think you can classify that a bit more highbrow.
Yes, but I guess because it's so mainstream, people will be like, it's because people aren't aware that the book by Margaret Mitchell won the Pulitzer Prize the year it came out. But now people look at the book as like not really like highbrow literature, right? The film is a great film to watch. It's a great story. It also is it's an integral part of Hollywood history. I think it was one of the first colored films made. I think it came a year out or after Wizard of Oz. Came out after the Second World War. It was like a really big deal. And when you watch the film now, it's incredible to think what they achieved back then. And it's also one of my favorite books to film adaptation. Like it's actually pretty seamless, except for like one little thing, which is very rare to do. So
I absolutely love, you're probably the only person that's read it.
the book,
Yeah.
I've read it several times. It's a brilliant book. If you want to learn about American history through the perspective of characters without like all this like, boring history facts, it's a wonderful
Do you want to learn
book.
about American history without facts?
Without that, like in a chronological kind of boring way, it's a wonderful, wonderful novel to read. Listen to it. Actually, no, don't listen to it. Read it, because the people, it's old men from the 40s doing this sound doesn't sound good. Anyway, do read the book. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Margaret Mitchell.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It sort of sounds a little bit like there's elephants walking above us. So if any of that's coming through on this recording, apologies, but who knows?
Studios are changing around.
Studios.
Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening.
If you've liked this episode, please follow and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app.
And don't forget to tell your friends and family and to follow us on social media.
Bye.
See you.